please. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you very much for joining us today. I wanted to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can look at the next 3 chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam and learn lots about spiritual life and advance in our Krishna consciousness by the blessings of Guru Maharaj, blessings of Srila Prabhupada, and all the Vaishnava Sampradaya gurus and Gaunitai, Radha Krishna, and Krishna Balaram. So, let's do these things first. So,
Yep, she's ready.
Okay. Indulekha Maharaj, would you like to, you can go through these, yeah?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Okay, the lessons that we can take home so far, we have reached up to chapter 15, so we have 3 more to go. So the first one is always respect the spiritual master and ask questions in a submissive way. Chapter 2, Lord Sri Krishna is absolute truth and the ultimate goal of life. Chapter 3, Krishna is the original Godhead who has unlimited expansions. Chapter 4, reading Bhagavatam will give more joy to the heart than any other scriptures. Chapter 5, spiritual literatures lead us to bhakti and bring changes to our hearts. Chapter 6, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, we can cross over this material world. Chapter 7, the Vedic literature can help us develop loving service toward the Lord. Chapter 8, we should be fully dependent upon the Lord even in time of calamity. In chapter 9, we should aspire to constantly remember the Lord, especially at time of death. Chapter 10, absorbed in qualities of and offering prayers unto the Lord removes our sins. Chapter 11, whoever takes shelter of the Lord are not influenced by the material qualities. Chapter 12, we should serve the Supreme Lord unconditionally, undeviated and unmotivated. Chapter 13, try not to be attached to anyone or anything because everything is controlled by the Lord. Chapter 14, Krishna gives pleasure to everyone and he is very affectionate toward the devotees. Chapter 15, one can defeat invincible enemies when taking shelter of Lord Shri Krishna, i.e. is lust, anger, greed, and etc. That is in everyone. So we should take shelter of Krishna, and then we will be able to defeat the enemies. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Yes, the enemy is not outside, the enemy is inside. Absolutely. And these lessons actually, we're happy to review these. If devotees feel that a different lesson is more appropriate, it's a fantastic opportunity for us to engage with each other.
It will be nice because we perceive differently, right? So they can find more appropriate lessons from there. And tomorrow, as you said, I can just go over and then give a little more detail, like why we have chosen this and which chapter.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think because tomorrow we've got 1 chapter to do. Today is 16, 17, 18. Tomorrow is 19. So we'll have a bit of time. But also we wanted to just tweak this presentation a little bit, if the devotees don't mind. The way we wanted to do, we'll continue with try to do the 3 chapters a day, try to do that. And then, because some devotees have to leave at 5, we wanted to give them an opportunity to ask or make any comments. And then what we will do is we will go to Madhusudan Prabhu. And we were having a chat yesterday, and what transpired from the conversation, which was very inspiring to me, was that like Madhusudan Prabhu was saying, there's so many instructions in each chapter. So then we thought, okay, let's take one instruction from each chapter So we got the lessons, and the lesson and the instruction may be exactly the same, may be different, but we can start constructing lessons from each chapter, each chapter. So one chapter, one instruction. In that way, by the time we end, we will have a lot of instructions, but also it will focus our mind a little bit. So today, for example, hopefully Madhusudan Prabhu will give us 3 instructions from chapter 16, 17, and 18. So that we can take sort of with us, and something that will add value to our learning. That's the idea. So, okay. I hope that's okay. So if devotees feel okay with that, that's great. If not, just let us know. Huh? Brief overview of where we are in Canto 1. So the sages in Naimisharanya, they're asking questions of Sutta Goswami. Initially, they asked the 6 questions. He answered them in the first 2 chapters. And he's answering them later on as well, going on. Then he describes the 22 incarnations of Krishna and establishes Krishna as the source of all avatars. And then we had the situation where Vyasadeva was dejected, and Narad Muni came and guided him that you haven't actually glorified Krishna. And Narad Muni gives an account of his own life and then advises Vyasadeva what to do. And then the pastimes of Lord saving Parikshit Maharaj, and then we had Queen Kunti's magnificent prayers, especially about those who are materially exhausted, they can approach the Lord very easily, and severing of the ties of attachment. How she prays, please sever my ties, sever my attachment to my sons, and her sons are all devotees. So this is quite interesting. Bhishma's then giving instructions to Yudhishthira, and then he leaves in the presence of Krishna, which is amazing. Then Yudhishthira's rule is discussed. Krishna's returning to Dwarka and how they all welcome him, and he also respects his elders so much. He touches their feet. So this is actually a very important point about respect of elders. Then we looked at Parikshit's birth and the astrological predictions. And then yesterday, we saw how Vidur returned back to Hastinapur. Then he preached to Dhritarashtra to leave home because your age has caught up with you. Time is running fast. And Dhritarashtra did what Vidur said for probably the first time in his life. And he achieved perfection by the practice of Astanga Yoga. And Yudhishthira sees bad omens. Arjuna returns again from Dwarka, dejected, and he informs, he was defeated by some cowherd men as well. And he informs Yudhishthira of Krishna's departure for the spiritual world. And Yudhishthira decides, okay, if Krishna's gone, we're also going. As does his brothers and his Dharmapatnis, Draupadi and Arjun's Dharmapatni Subhadra. So in that's where we left off, and tackling the conversations, we are still at Naimisharanya with Shonak Rishi and Sutta Goswami. So this is an incredible verse, which is in the 16th chapter, 6th verse. Athavasya padam bhoja makarandaliham satam kimanye ashad alaipe ayushoyad ashad vyaya.
The devotees of the Lord are accustomed to licking up the honey available from the lotus feet of the Lord. What is the use of topics which simply waste one's valuable time?
Life.
So life.
You're getting to be like me now. So 16th chapter is entitled How Parikshit Received the Age of Kali. And I think we'll see this verse in a little while. Very beautiful verse. So Parikshit Maharaj, he meets Kali. Parikshit then began to rule over the world under the instructions of the Brahmanas. So that was the culture at that time, the learned Brahmanas, they would be advising. He selected Kripachaya for guidance as his spiritual master. And Kripachaya, devotees will remember, he has been there right throughout the Mahabharata. He even survived the war. One of the few who survived the war.
The other side.
Yeah, from the other side. Well, on either side, isn't it? Because there was a mass destruction. He performed 3 whole sacrifices on the banks of the Ganga. Once, when Parikshit was on his way to conquer the world, he saw the master of Kali Yuga, who was lower than the Shudra, disguised as a king, hurting the legs of a cow and a bull. The king at once caught hold of him in order to punish Kali. So that's a little summary. We're going to see a lot more detail in the next few minutes. So then Shonak Rishi asked Sutta Goswami to explain these pastimes in detail. The devotees of the Lord are accustomed, there you go, to licking up the honey available from the lotus feet of the Lord. So this verse is very, very nice because it carries on. What is the use of topics which simply waste one's valuable life? Unfortunately, we sort of addicted to mundane topics, mundane news, mundane TV programs, mundane songs. And all of that will just divert us from our real aim. So as far as we can, we try to minimize the amount of television we watch, the amount of news we hear, minimize it. Like I was saying before, if you want to read the news, read it in the toilet and leave it in the toilet. Don't linger on with the news. It's really not good. Really not good. Just wasting time. Those among men who desire freedom from death escape the slaughtering process by calling the controller of death, by hearing Krishna Katha. So actually Krishna Katha is, will extend our lives in a positive way. It will extend our spiritual lives. And we will escape death if we continuously are listening to Krishna Katha. Parikshit chose his kingdom. When Parikshit was residing in his capital, the symptoms of the age of Kali began to infiltrate within the jurisdiction of his state. So this is Sutta Goswami is explaining to Shonak Rishi. He took a bow and arrow and prepared himself for military activities, conquering all parts of the earth. Wherever he went, he continuously heard the glories of his forefathers, and especially Arjuna, and also of the glorious acts of Krishna. And so he became overwhelmed with devotion to the lotus feet of the Lord. So this is from verses 10 to 16. Then from 17 to 24, the personality of principles, religious principles, dharma, was wondering about in the form, was wandering, it's a VWA, isn't it, wandering, about in the form of a bull. And he met the personality of earth in the form of a cow, who appeared to grieve like a mother who had lost her child. She had tears in her eyes, and the beauty of her body was lost. Thus, Dharma, the bull, he questioned Gaumata, the earth, why she was covered with such a shadow of grief. So he asked her, is it because I, the bull, have lost 3 legs and am standing on 1 leg? Or is it that unscrupulous people will exploit your resources in the future? Or is it that now Krishna has departed from this world, you are bereft of his presence? So Dharma is very, he's got great foresight, the bull. But Dharma further states that the powerful influence of time, which conquers the most powerful, must have forcibly taken away all your fortune, which was adored even by the demigods. So the demigods even used to come on earth because it was such a glorious place. But now Earth is crying tears. So then Earth replies, Earth in the form of Gomata replied that Krishna, the reservoir of all goodness and beauty, has completed his pastimes on Earth. And in his absence, the age of Kali has spread its influence everywhere. And she was sorry to see this condition of existence. So this was the real issue with Mother Earth. His lotus feet were no longer present on Earth. The Lord appeared in the Yadu family, and he relieved us from both our burdens. So he helped Mother Earth, and he was also re-establishing Dharma. And if devotees recall, the original reason why Lord Krishna came, the external reason was Mother Earth, in the form of a cow, went to Lord Brahma and prayed that unscrupulous kings have taken over the earth, and I am now requiring help. So they went to Shvetadvip and pleaded to Lord Vishnu to please descend. And he sent a message to Lord Brahma saying, yes, I will come. And all the demigods should take birth in the Yadu family, Yadu and Vishnu families. I was endowed with specific powers to supersede the fortune of all the 3 planetary systems by being decorated with the impressions of the flag, thunderbolt, elephant driving rod, and lotus flower, which are the signs of the lotus feet of the Lord. But at the end, when I felt I was so fortunate, the Lord left me. He has a habit of doing that. Who can tolerate the pangs of separation from Krishna? When the bull and cow were talking, the saintly King Parikshit reached the shore of the Saraswati river, which flowed towards the east. So this is the end of the 16th chapter. And this is the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. And one day we'll go through each and every symbol. Each and every symbol has great significance. So Mother Earth was now missing these lotus feet, which were trampling all over the earth, all over her. She was so happy when Krishna was present. So are there any comments or any questions at the end for chapter 16? If not, we'll carry on. Oh, Naniben, did you remember your question?
Yes, Prabhuji, yes. One was on Vidur Maharaj.
Yes.
I was reading that he sort of, while other Pandavas along with Draupadi and Subhadra, they reached Golak Vrindavan, while Vidur Maharaj, he had a different destination, isn't it? He came back to being the Yamraj.
Ah, yeah.
Yes. That was one thing, yeah. And the second thing was about the Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra, he did, I mean, we cannot speak high of Dhritarashtra anyway, and yet he received the salvation by doing the Ashtanga Yoga, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So he had a place, even though he took sort of not a part directly, but indirectly in so much wrongdoings to Pandava and Kunti Mata.
Indeed, you're absolutely right. This shows the mercy of the Lord, that even somebody who was in his consciousness, which was not a very high level of consciousness in terms of bhakti, yet by the performance of Ashtanga Yoga, under the advice of Vidur. Now, got to remember who Vidur is. As you said, he's Dharamraj. He, in his previous, he is actually Dharamraj, previous life. And as you said, he went to resume his duties as Dharamraj. He was cursed to appear as a low-born Shudra. Well, it wasn't low-born anyway. He was born in a royal family. But he was cursed to appear as a Shudra. And this curse was finished when the pastime of Vidur finished. So he went to become again Dharamraj. Yet he advised Dhritarashtra that you need to leave home and do Ashtanga Yoga. You need to do spiritual practice. And Dhritarashtra did. follow what Vidhu said. When you follow what a devotee says, you're going to achieve great things. And he purified his consciousness to the extent that he brought his Atma right to the top of his head. And actually, it ignited. It just burnt his body, not just his body, it burned the cottage as well that was in. And he achieved, what he achieved, I'm not too sure, but definitely he's out of this world. Whether it's Vaikuntha, whether it's the impersonal Brahman, that I'm not sure. I don't know if anybody knows. Prabhupada is silent on that point. So I'm not too sure about where he's actually reached. Whether
he reached Brahman, and from Brahman he will proceed, because he could not reach the Paramatma or the Bhagavan, but first he had to reach Brahman.
The problem with the reaching Brahman is
Yes.
you can't necessarily progress any further. Unless,
yeah, but he will at some point, he will come down and then go again. But he did not reach the Lord directly.
Right. And where did you read that, Mataji?
In the Bhagavatam itself, you will come across.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you're in the Brahman, the Brahma Jyoti, Nani Ben, once you're in the Brahma Jyoti,
yes,
it's very hard to, because there is no activity there. There's no association of devotees. You are you are in a state of flux, like you just stuck in nothingness, in light. And it's very difficult to go in an upward direction. Generally, you would go in a downward direction, back into earth again. So.
And what happened to Kunti Maharani?
Sure.
Oh, she would have attained the spiritual world without a doubt.
No, how did he sort of
how did she
meet the end? Yeah, because everything is described, Pandavas and Gandhari, but
yeah, I'm not sure.
So far, I mean, my knowledge is very limited. But so far, so maybe it may come in the later chapters. I don't know.
But Gandhari went with Dhritarashtra. She entered the fire, but Kunti they're silent on. So yes. Point.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. We'll come across it maybe.
Maybe yes. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Tapasaucham daya satyam iti padakata krito adharmanasyayo bhagana samyak sangavayasava.
In the age of Satya, truthfulness, your 4 legs were established by the 4 principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. But it appears that 3 of your legs were broken due to rampant irreligion in the form of pride, lust for women, and intoxication.
Good. So, chapter 17, Punishment and Reward of Kali. Parikshit Maharaj, in the first 6 verses, is described after reaching that place. So that was in the banks of the Saraswati river. The king observed a low-caste Sudra. So he's describing in a little more detail, Sutta Goswami. Dressed as a king, the low-born Sudra was beating a cow and a bull with a club, as if they had no owner. Parikshit challenged the rogue and asked him, how dare he beat an innocent cow just because Krishna and Arjun are out of sight? And he threatened him with punishment of death. So Parikshit was very powerful. And at the same time, he consoled the cow and the bull. The next 9 verses. The king said to the cow that she no longer needs to lament, as there is no need to fear this low-class Sudra. And as long as he is alive, as the ruler, there is no cause for her to cry. The king asked the bull, who has cut off his 3 legs? Now, this is really interesting. The bull replies, Dharma replies, it is actually very difficult to ascertain the particular miscreant who has caused our suffering. Now, that's a really surprising answer, because Kali is the one who's cut off his legs. But the bull is saying, actually, it's very difficult to tell why we are suffering, because there are so many causes of happiness and distress. And then the bull actually lists a few of those. So I would recommend reading between verses 17 and 23. Try to read all. But here, the bull is giving us knowledge that actually, if we are going through some suffering, then we should understand that we can't necessarily point our fingers to any particular point. If we're thinking that somebody is the cause of our suffering, that may not be the right thinking, because as the Buddha is saying, it's very difficult to ascertain the particular miscreant who has caused our suffering. It's our own karma, it's our own activity. We've done something in the past which has caused this suffering to take place. So somebody may be the instrument of the karma, because we need to suffer what sinful activities we've performed. So if we get angry at the one who is the instrument of the suffering, then actually that may be the wrong person that we should be getting angry at, because we should probably be angry at ourselves for committing the sin in the first place. And the king said to the bull that he knows the truth of religion, that the bull knows the truth of religion, and that the bull is speaking according to the principle that destination intended for the perpetrator of religious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator. So we've got to be very careful when we point fingers. And Prabhupada says in the purport, in case of benefit, no one will deny it is God sent. But in the case of loss or reverses, one becomes doubtful about how the Lord could be so unkind to his devotee as to put him in great difficulty. So this is quite an instructive part of the Bhagavatam. The bull is asked by Parikshit Maharaj, who did this to you? And he's answering, well, it's a little difficult to tell. There's so many factors involved. He doesn't point at Kali straight away, or at all, in fact. So this is quite interesting. Parikshit pacifies Dharam. In Satyayug, all four legs of religion were established by the pillars of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. However, due to irreligion in the form of pride, lust, and intoxication, 3 legs have been broken. Even the remaining leg of truthfulness is being destroyed. Earth is lamenting her future as Krishna has departed from this world, and she will be ruled and enjoyed by low-class men posing as rulers. Parikshit, who could fight 1,000 enemies single-handedly, pacified the personality of religion and earth. He took up the sword to kill the personality of Kali, who is the cause of all ill religion. So Parikshit Maharaj was ready to destroy Kali. When Kali was thus threatened, he fearfully abandoned the dress of a king and completely surrendered to Parikshit. Seeing the surrender of Kali, the king told him, this is quite incredible, he need not fear for his life anymore. But he also told Kali, you cannot remain in my kingdom because you are a friend of irreligion. Kali, however, requested the king to give him some permanent residency under his protection. So this is the point which is very important to understand. Parikshit was very merciful. If somebody surrendered to him, he was obliged to give protection. So he was obliged to give protection to Kali. And this is Parikshit Maharaj threatening to kill. This is really quite an amazing painting. There's the Gomata and the bull, when the bull's legs are cut off. And then you've got the illicit activities going on here. Kali's there. Parikshit is ready with the sword. Parikshit agreed that Kali could reside in places where gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter are performed. Kali asked for something more, so the king gave him permission to live where there is gold. Because wherever there is gold, there is falsity, lust, envy, and enmity. Thus the king re-established the lost legs of the personality of religion and improved the condition of the earth. So this is quite an interesting chapter. Any questions or any comments, please? Okay, let's quickly move on to the next one, and then we can have a few questions at least, if there is any. Tulaya malavena pi naswagam na punarbhavam Bhagavat Sangi Sangasya Martyanam Kim Uttashisha.
The value of a moment's association with the devotee of the Lord cannot even be compared to the attainment of heavenly planets or liberation from matter. And what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which are for those who are meant for death.
So here we go again. This point about devotee association comes again and again and again. And the reason is it's fundamental to our practice of bhakti yoga. If we have right association, we'll make advancement in the right direction. And as we discussed yesterday, even one moment's association, bad association, can completely destroy our lives. So we have to be very careful of our association. So, name of the chapter, Maharaj Parikshit cursed by a Brahmin boy, 18th chapter. Parikshit's qualities are described in the first 10 chapters, verses. Sutta Goswami explained that the very moment Krishna left the planet, Kali came into this world, Parikshit Maharaj was a realist, like the bees who only accept the essence of a flower. He knew perfectly well that in this age of Kali, auspicious things produce good effects immediately, whereas inauspicious things will actually be performed. He was never envious of the personality of Kali. That's why he didn't kill him. He wasn't envious. He knew it was Kali's time. So he allowed him to stay in specific places. He could have killed Kali. He was Raj Rishi, but he didn't because he knew it was Kali's time. So he wasn't envious of Kali. He let the progress of time and the yugas continue, although he could have stopped it. The king considered that less intelligent men may find Kali to be very powerful, but also a self-controlled person would have nothing to fear. So, of course, we have to take association of pure devotees and Krishna and get this power so that we can resist the temptations of Kali in Kali Yuga. Nectarian Krishna Katha 11 to 17. The sages said to Sutta that they had just begun the performance of this fruitive activity. So these are the sages. They were saying to Sutta Goswami, phew, we're having a hard time. We're doing a sacrificial fire without certainty of its result due to many imperfections in our actions. Their bodies had become black from the smoke, but they were factually pleased by the nectar of the lotus feet of Govinda, which Sutta Goswami, being a devotee, is distributing. And they urged Sutta to please narrate more. And this is where this verse comes, where even a moment's association with a devotee is far greater than so many other pious activities. But this is where the sages very humbly submit to Sutta Goswami that actually you are giving us direction now. The direction is towards Sri Krishna and his nectarian pastimes. Sutta Goswami said that the personality of Godhead is unlimited and there is none equal to him. consequently, no one can speak of him adequately. He will try to describe the transcendental pastimes as far as his knowledge will allow. As the birds fly in the sky as far as their capacity allows, so do the learned devotees describe the Lord as far as their realization allows. So Sutta Goswami is saying to the sages, yes, we will definitely talk about Krishna according to my realizations. But his realizations were substantial because, as we've discussed, who Sutta Goswami is, he's the parrot of Radharani. So actually is an intimate associate of Srimati Radharani. And he heard the Bhagavatam from Lord Shiva as well, and Srila Vyasadeva. So he, Sutta Goswami didn't hear it. Sukha Goswami heard it. Sutta Goswami heard it from Sukadev Goswami. So he's very knowledgeable. Now, this is where Sutta Goswami starts the pastimes. Once King Parikshit was hunting in the forest, and he became tired, hungry, and thirsty. Searching for water, he entered the hermitage of the well-known Samika Rishi. The sage was in deep meditation. The king, being thirsty, felt insulted and angry that he was not received properly. So the king has the rule over the whole country. And when he goes somewhere, he should be received well. However, the rishi was in samadhi. He was in deep meditation. So he didn't even notice that the king was there. Now, if we recall, Kali was given 4 places to live, plus another, which was gold. And the king's crown was made of gold. So Kali entered the crown. When leaving, the king picked up a lifeless snake with his bow and angrily placed it around the shoulder of the sage. Then he returned to his palace. And actually he felt very, very bad after doing that. It is described. Here he is. The sage had a son called Shringi, who was very powerful, being a Brahmin's boy. He found out what happened and he cursed the king that on the 7th day from today, a snake bird will bite the king. That's, what's his name? Takchak. Because of his breaking the laws of etiquette and insulting his father. And this was the beginning of the downfall of the Brahminical tradition, the Vedic system, because of the misuse of power. The father learned from his son that the king had been cursed, although he should never have been condemned, for he was the best among all human beings. The rishi did not congratulate his son, but told him that he had committed a sinful act, because the punishment was too heavy for such an insignificant offense. It was an offense, but to commit somebody to death was too excessive as a punishment. The sage prayed to the Supreme Lord to pardon his immature son, who had no intelligence and committed the great sin of causing a person who is completely free from all sins, who was subordinate and deserved to be protected. So this is the end of the 18th chapter of the first canto. Are there any comments, any questions?
Prabhuji?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I find it a bit difficult to understand Parikshit Maharaj's action by putting the dead snake, because he on this rishi was highly learned. Parikshit is so sort of 100%, like I would say, it's scoring A in everything. And how could he even think about doing such a lowly act? I cannot understand. Maybe it's a design of the Lord.
Will of the Lord. It's the will of the Lord.
It is, yeah.
And also Kali entered the helmet, right, which was made of gold. So
he had picked up a helmet. I read it somewhere that he put a helmet which is made up of gold or crown on his head.
Listen.
And that's what made him do this. But
Yeah.
it's not said anything in the Bhagavatam.
No, it doesn't specifically mention that point.
Okay, all right,
But,
that makes sense. Yeah,
but
okay.
yeah,
Made his intelligence go, go
haywire.
really.
Yeah.
Because Kali
Yes.
was on top of his head.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's fine then. Yeah.
It is,
Okay.
as you answered it yourself, that actually this is, if it hadn't happened, perhaps there would not have been the Bhagavatam in the form that we see it today. So
Yes.
it is design of the Lord that Parikshit Maharaj came under this small illusion. It's a small, he was very hungry, he was very tired, very frustrated. And just as he was leaving, he saw a snake and he just put it around the neck of the sage. Not a big offense, not a big offense at all.
My dad always used to say that when he would be hungry, he said, a hungry Brahman can do anything, which I think based on this, he was always saying that.
Okay, we'll bear that in mind. We'll invite you.
They were hungry.
Make sure you
Yeah,
have.
if you're hungry, you can do anything, exactly. Hungry and thirsty as well, he was, wasn't he?
Yeah, Parikshit Maharaj was not a Brahman, first of all, and he was a Kshatriya. So all
Yes.
the arrangement of the Lord, when the time comes, the Lord
Yes.
need to find an excuse to take us from here. Otherwise, we all have natural
Forever.
deaths, which is a bit, right?
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
He wasn't a Brahmin, but he was
Yeah,
more
he was
than a
not.
Brahmin. But he was more than a Brahmin. He wasn't just a Kshatriya. He wasn't just a Raj. He was a Raj Rishi. So a Raj Rishi is a greater than a Brahmin, because that is a devotee. He was a Kshatriya devotee. He was a Rishi, but he was a Raj Rishi. So that qualification is higher than that of a Brahmin. But when you are a Raj, you have a natural propensity of passion is there. A natural propensity of passion is there. Of course, it's used, if you're a Raj Rishi, it's used in the service of the Lord. So it becomes completely purified. But being a Raj Rishi, he shouldn't have done that. But as both of you have said, it's the Lord's arrangement. Anything else, Nani Ben?
No, that's fine.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Anybody else? Okay, we can go to Madhusudan Prabhu.
Okay, Jai Haribol. Hare Krishna. And also at that moment, Maharaj Parikshit, it just shows the influence of Kali. Kali was not able to reside anywhere in the Maharaj Parikshit's rule, but that moment of gold on the head, that was the first place, because he was given that fifth place to stay.
Yeah.
So that momentarily lapse of kind of on the part of Maharaj Parikshit was the start of the Kali Yuga as well.
Yes.
To reside.
Yes.
Yeah, but the influence was coming along. But it's, well, okay. So anybody, and there's some people who you said, who want to go at 5 o'clock. So if they got any questions or comments.
They've done it. Yeah, done it. That's done. And I've asked, so that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine then. So, but as far as the instruction, a lot of them are actually covered within the slide, in the sections that you've actually gone through. So, and it's quite interesting, because when you go through the chapters, the instructions that come out, either they're for us or they are for the personality within the Bhagavatam. For example, how the Sonak rishis are asking questions to Sutta Goswamis is for the benefit of all the sages, all the people of the Kali Yuga. And then there are questions being or instructions being given which are in the interest of, for example, Yudhishthira, for Vidura, giving instructions that benefit for Dhritarashtra. So instructions are there, and then what we can get out of it is the instructions that can come towards us. So actually it's quite complex to try to get any kind of, you know, one of the main instructions that may come out, but they're quite a lot. So in chapter 16, you know, how the king cannot really tolerate insults, you know. If he's a Raj Rishi, like you say, you know, then he should not really tolerate any kind of abuse to the cow, particularly, and to the Brahmins. So the main instruction here is that the human civilization needs to give him emphasis to the advancement of Brahminical culture and protect the cows. And Prabhupada in the purport is quite clearly says that, you know, there is actually miracle in milk because it contains all the necessary vitamins to sustain human physiology and for higher achievements. So again, you know, the quality of the milk these days, obviously people are concerned about that because the way the cows are being treated and the way food comes, so a lot of people go vegan and dairy free or whatever. But these instructions that come along for the benefit of humankind is basically, this chapter shows the cows and the Brahmins should be protected, you know, and again, slaughterhouses and all that should be not encouraged, but this is Kali Yuga. But then again, the interesting thing is when the Sonak Rishi and the Rishis are asking questions, they heard about the abuse to the cow and the bull and all that, but then they're still interested in more, in not talking about the cow or the bull and how they were mistreated on the, but more if it's connected with Krishna, then they were interested in listening to that topic more. So they encourage Sutta Goswami to explain more about that topic if it's connected with Krishna. The other instruction that comes out is that, you know, when they were doing all the sacrifices, they had invited Yamaraj to come as well and attend the sacrifices. So Prabhupada in the purport says that, you know, it is good that that Yamraj, he's a great devotee of the Lord, and he likes to be invited to kirtans and sacrifices by the pure devotees, and who are constantly engaged in devotional service. So it's a good thing that, you know, and as far as Yamraj was there was not going to be any death, and death personified. Yamraj is present there. So at that time, they could keep away the influence of Kali as well as death personified. So there were no death at that time. So that's quite interesting to note that, you know, in the instructions. And so the main topic that comes out from this main instruction is that, you know, therefore, we should really not consider ourselves to be just self-sufficient, independent of the Lord. We are all dependent on the Lord, and that, you know, Krishna, after all, you know, his qualities are unlimited. So quite a few instructions there. But the main thing, obviously, is that, you know, is the topic of interest that we show, you know, if there is any topic that we show interest in, is it in relation to Krishna? If it is, then we should carry on. Otherwise, avoid that. So that was covered within the slides, you know. Chapter 17 also, you know, again, this is more a conversation between the cow, the bull, and a lot of instructions come in there as well as to how the administrators should be qualified enough, and there should not be the kind of people that misuse and abuse and not actually follow through and deliver the laws, you know, and punish the miscreants. So that is the main. And one point that, you know, man and animals were equally protected as far as life was concerned. So that was Prabhupada mentioning that, you know, another interesting is that the cows, the reason why cows are so more important, and Krishna is always known as Govinda. So Prabhupada mentions that Surabhi is the name of the cows which exist in the spiritual planets and are especially reared by Lord Sri Krishna himself. So as men are made after the form and the features of the Supreme Lord, so also the cows are made after the form and features of the Surabhi cow in the spiritual kingdom. And so therefore, there is that reflection of the spiritual world into the material world, and the cows and the Surabhi cows are connected in that way. So in that way, we should be protecting the cows and then the Brahmins as well. So the main instructions, there quite a lot of instructions, but here, this chapter 17, all the different things that are mentioned between the conversation between the cow and the bull, and how the religion and how the cow is actually representing the earth, and earth she's lamenting a lot as well, and bull is asking why you're lamenting. But it's the principles that are adopted within the Srimad Bhagavatam is what we should really follow, and that is, as Prabhupada says, the authority of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the principles that will bring happiness for humanity, So, and the chapter 18, again, the last chapter where Maharaj Parikshit gets cursed by a Brahmin boy. Again, a devotee who surrendered, Prabhupada said, is that, that devotee is called Narayan Parayan. Such a person is never afraid of any persons or place, not even of death. So for him, nothing is as important as the Supreme Lord. So he have total faith in the Lord will protect him. And so it's very essential that we take shelter of the Supreme Lord. And the main lesson that comes here, the devotee, Prabhupada says, the devotee never goes against the will of the Lord. Anything that's sent by God or Krishna is a blessing for the devotee. So whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, devotee always takes it as so whatever comes along, take it as a God sent, or there's just, as they say, there's always a silver lining or somewhere. But at the, for our own benefit. And therefore, even this incident of Maharaj Parikshit putting the snake, although it's like Maharaj Parikshit was ruling he was the emperor, everything was going all right in his kingdom, he was dealing with the miscreants and everything, and suddenly it's like a slap, given by the will of the Lord to kind of a wake-up call to say, hey, this incident, although it doesn't seem very good, but that's the start of his journey towards the spiritual total liberation, back home, back to Godhead. So sometimes Krishna will arrange, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, take it as a God sent, So, so nothing is bad if it's properly used in the Krishna's service as well. So we are using this platform. Prabhupada says in the purport that, scientists have made instruments like loudspeakers and microphones and mobile phones and whatever. But if they're used in the service of the Lord, then that's also that's the right use, actually. And dovetailing everything. So within the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says there are topics of politics, sociology, geography, whatever. There's so many aspects will come along. So many concepts will come out as well. Some may be very, very controversial or whatever. It may sound like there is no how to resolve this. For example, Maharaj Parikshit being such a pure devotee and so intelligent and all that, and how can he do something like that? But that can only be resolved by understanding that it's Krishna's will, and it's that's the reason. So there's quite a few instructions there.
I think that's really good. Actually, you've identified the main things. Of course, you're absolutely right. Bhagavatam is like if each chapter must have so many different instructions,
Yeah.
um, and sometimes it's a little hard to identify. I suppose what we're
Um,
trying,
but,
trying to get is one key instruction which you feel is very important. It's a personal, it's personal
yeah.
one. So
So I may choose something, but you know, if there and others may read the chapters and feel there is some other instructions, so they can, you know, contribute. But I'll try my best to sort of find the one main, you know,
yeah, that's it.
that would be the
That's,
instruction. Yeah.
because
But
otherwise,
this was my first attempt, so I thought, well, I was trying to.
it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
I think because you've said you've basically made made the point that there's loads of instructions, which absolutely there are, but and you've identified the key ones as well, which to you are key, which is perfect because you've got so much experience, and that will really help those who are slowly getting the experience. You will really be able to guide
Yeah.
in a nice way, So that'd be fantastic. But that's good. That's the sort of thing we're looking for. I think this
Yeah. Well.
key ones, and we'll write them down so devotees sort of have them available,
Yeah.
easy accessible, just like the
Yeah,
lesson.
and obviously it's you know, I like to see what Prabhupada is also trying to give instructions to us within the purports as well, you know, which sometimes we don't have time to read and all that, but
Yeah.
it's quite tough. So this is my first attempt, so I hope that works, but next time I might try and just pick one or two.
Yeah, just pick one or two. I think
Yeah.
that you think, hang on, this will really help the devotees. That's
Yeah.
really helped me. So, you're making it very personal, and that's perfect because you've got so much experience, over 40 years of bhakti behind you. So,
Well, yeah, well, being in a teaching field for years and years, I try to think of what the students need and how
exactly.
they can understand something. So my angle might be slightly different, but I'm sorry if I repeat anything or it's
No, it's not that.
it's within the text that you've covered as well. So
no, that's okay.
yeah.
I think this will really help. I think this will make, because we're covering the overview, we're covering the lessons, covering instructions. This is a very good base for one to try to get a good overview and also how it's going to impact our own lives. So I think that makes it a really nice all-round offering that we're giving to the Supreme Lord and to the devotees.
Yeah, it's the best, So I mean, I really want to thank Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj, and for giving me the words to sort of glorify Srimad Bhagavatam in this way, supporting you and other devotees. So it's
perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you very much.
Yeah, well, Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai.
Now, anybody with any questions or any comments? Aruna?
You're both doing amazing. I'm understanding into bits of it. Very good.
Thank you for your feedback. And you're managing to read as well?
Yeah, I'm on Canto 2.
Sorry?
I'm on Canto 2.
Wow. Oh, so you're way ahead of us.
I'm just reading it, but when I'm following you in the afternoon like this, it's making sense.
Okay.
I didn't understand about the 4 legs and why they were sorted, but now it makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. So Canto 2, you are presenting, by the way, Aruna.
I'm just a learner, starter.
No, thank you very much. Thank you for your feedback. It's good to get that feedback because we want to be helping as much as we possibly can, helping ourselves first, but in the process helping everybody else as well.
In the morning I set my time to read and that's it. So.
Okay. Wow. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That's very encouraging.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Indulekha Maaji, I'm just reading the text of the Dhritarashtra, actually on the Bhagavatam.
Yes.
Where is it gone? Dhritarashtra will have to amalgamate his pure identity with intelligence and then merge into the Supreme Brahman with knowledge of his qualitative oneness as a living entity with the Supreme Brahman. Being freed from the blocked sky, he will have to rise to the spiritual sky. So that's one thing that's being said. But there's a Back to Godhead magazine. Prabhupada is not identifying exactly. If you can find the reference where Prabhupada says he's gone to Brahman and then he's going to come back, and then that'll be good to see. But what the Back to Godhead magazine says is, because the Dhritarashtra perfected the process of Ashtanga yoga, a mystical fire burnt his old useless body to ashes. The administrative demigods then allowed the soul in the Dhritarashtra's body to commence to its next birth on a higher planet.
Okay.
Just after the fire had consumed his body, the devoted Gandhari voluntarily entered that fire and followed her husband to the same elevated planet. So it's very unclear in terms of what he actually achieved. It doesn't so much matter anyway, but
Yeah. But sometimes when somebody asks, we have to have an answer. But it is
no,
also
not. It has to be a correct answer, though.
yes, it is also said that whoever merge in the Brahman, they don't go higher. But maybe for him, it's an exception. Who knows?
No, but it's actually saying he's gone to a higher planet within this
Yes.
within this world, not in
Oh, okay.
not in the
Okay.
spiritual
Yes.
world.
Yeah.
Not in,
Okay.
he's in this world still. So I think if you can find that reference where Prabhupada
Yes.
is, that now we share it with me, and I'll
Okay.
have a look at that, because I couldn't find anything. So
Okay.
somebody asked me years ago, and I remember looking for it. I just couldn't find anything. I was thinking, and at that time we didn't have the weather base, so
Yeah.
I haven't looked at that since. So at that time I couldn't find it. Anyway,
Right. I read it sometimes long time back in this, I think in the compiled Srimad Bhagavatam I read. I'm not too sure, but whenever I come across it, I'll forward it to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, that's great. And if there's no other comments or questions, we can recite the. Oh, Indulekha Mataji, would you like to do that?
Yes, please. Yes.
Good. Okay, so let me just stop. Sorry.